Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Boot Nerds podcast. We made it. What's going on, Jay?
We made it. 20 episodes, guys. This is awesome. I'm just a little bit dumbstruck that people are still watching. I know there are guys out there saying that we make too long podcasts, but hey, this is what happens when you put the two biggest boot nerds on YouTube together. So yeah, good episode coming up today. A lot of fun things to talk about, but I guess you have a little message to us first, Josh.
We do. Today's episode of the Boot Nerds podcast is brought to you by the good guys at C6 Agility, 100% carbon fiber shin guards made in the US, quite possibly the greatest shin guard ever made. And you can get 10% off at c6agility.com by using coupon code BOOTNERDS at checkout.
See, that's a good deal. I mean, 10% is, it's not 20%, but 10% when we're talking C6 agility pads, that's quite a lot of money you save because they're expensive, but they're also worth it. As you said, best shin guards to have ever been made. I think that's by a country mile. By far the best shin pads I've ever owned and ever will own. I have the OG first generation, and I still rock it every single time I play football. It's that good, and I would basically trust it with my life.
Yeah, I think we're both people that don't like saying this is the best of all time when it comes to any product. But I think we've both tried plenty of shin guards at this point, and there really isn't anything quite like it. They're as thin as it gets, as light as it gets, as strong as it gets, as expensive as it gets as well. Let's not beat around the bush, but it really is the best of the best in pretty much every category you can measure in a shin guard.
I know. And what would you rather do? Spend a lot of money on a pair of shin guards once in your life, or spend some money here and there, maybe 10 times in your life or more, and get subpar shin guards that won't necessarily protect you to the level you want? I mean, C6 are shin guards for people who hate shin guards. They're shin guards for people who love protection. They're shin guards for everyone if you have the money. So, but now if you don't have the money, you can save 10% and you can afford it. So go buy it because honestly, it's worth it.
Yeah, not to talk about them too long, but this is a shin guard that when you wear them in a match, don't be surprised when the referee comes up to you and asks you to pull down your socks to prove that you're actually wearing shin guards. They're that thin.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we could talk about them for a while, but I think people know our stance on C6 and that they're the best. So let's move on to today's topic. But before we do, don't forget that if you have any questions for us, which we're gonna answer later in this episode and also in the upcoming episodes, you can leave them in the comment section right down below, because this is basically what the podcast is more or less built on. We answer your questions to share our thoughts with you. So if you have anything you want to ask us, you can leave your questions in the comment section right down below. Of course, also, now that we're at it, don't forget to leave a like on the video. We'll really appreciate it, and it'll help us spread the word of the beauty of football boots to the larger audience on YouTube. Finally, of course, if you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing? Click the button right now and then come back to enjoying the video. But with that said, Josh, I think we should jump into today's topic, which is a little bit of an odd one. I had to look twice when I saw the footage of Jack Grealish and his boots in the playoff final, where they were just completely torn to pieces. I don't even know if torn to pieces covers it. They were just done.
Yeah, it was half a pair of boots, basically.
Honestly, I don't even know how he could, keep playing with those, because it was basically... So what happened? I'm going to put a couple of pictures on the screen for you guys who didn't see it. Basically, in the playoff final, Aston Villa player Jack Grealish, he wore his low-cut Hypervenom Phantoms, Hypervenom 3s, and they had been... they were so worn down that the Nike skin silicone coating on the top of the Flyknit had basically just fallen off, and not just in one place, but it was basically like someone had taken a corner of it and just pulled the entire silicone coating off on the inner part of the instep. It looks absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it before. Like complete destruction of a pair of football boots, and he still wore it. Amazing.
Yeah, well, I did the math on it because it's in the World Cup colorway. And those launched almost 11 months ago now. So I'm going to assume that he got those right around the World Cup, and he's been wearing them since. And the explanation, and he said this, I believe, in several interviews already, because obviously this has been a very popular story over the last couple of days, is that they're his lucky boots. And obviously in a very important match that ultimately did see Aston Villa making it into the Premier League for next season, obviously they were pretty lucky.
They were pretty lucky, and yet, they weren't so lucky for the boots because they didn't survive. But I guess it was worth sacrificing them for getting into the Premier League. The big money move. I think he can afford buying himself a new pair of Hypervenom Phantoms if he so pleases.
Well, that's the funny part is I went on his Instagram and I just started scrolling through. I'm like, are these the only ones that he's been wearing for 11 months now? And no, he's actually worn other colorways of the Phantom 3, but it looks like those are the pair. That's the pair that he's like continued to stick to. And there was another interview I saw where he had a couple good matches in the boots and he kind of just claimed them as his lucky boots and he's kept them around. And I assume that every time he's brought them out, he's played really well. So he kind of just associates playing well to those particular boots. It's just weird to see that at the professional level with such a torn up pair of boots.
And I mean, it's not just a little worn. Like we've seen, obviously, Toni Kroos with his 11 Pro 2s that have been really, really smashed to pieces because he's worn them for such a long time, right? But that is natural wear and tear, and they were still holding up pretty well considering how far, how long he's had him. But if he's only had these for a year and he's been wearing other colorways, I'm a little bit surprised they're that beat up. I know that the championship is a physical league, and he's a physical player, but still, I don't think too many people who's had a pair of Hypervenom Phantom 3s for just under a year have broken them that much. I mean, they're absolutely smashed to pieces.
Well, it's a weird thing now because it's not really a modern football boot thing to wear the same boots for a very long time.
No.
And people make the argument all the time that modern boots are a lot less durable than they used to be. So when you see a guy like Kroos wearing these worn out 11 Pros, they're leather boots. You can wear very well worn leather boots, and yeah, they're going to look a little bit, let's say, ratty, but they're still very wearable. Whereas, right? But when you have something with a knitted upper with just like a thin plastic layer on top and it peels off, and I'm assuming the peeling has a lot to do as well with the boots constantly being washed, because I think at the professional level, there's a thing where they have to step onto the pitch with clean boots all the time. So they have to try and keep them as clean as possible. So once it starts tearing around the edges and you're wiping the boots down, eventually you're just going to start peeling more and more of that layer away until, as you see, pretty much, 3/4 of the knitted underside is completely exposed. It's very weird to see.
And it's also a fun thing. I think it's the first time that, people maybe out there who hasn't seen what football boots look like when they're cut up, maybe it's the first time they've actually seen how the upper on, say, a Hypervenom Phantom 3 is constructed. I'm not sure that too many people actually knew that it was knit and then a piece of silicone on top of it. It is just a piece of unprotected knit when you peel off the Nike Skin layer. It's a lot of fun to actually see him wearing that in a match, and that you can actually play with it if you want. It's just not very good for the durability. And I'm surprised, that he didn't end up with a big hole in the knit because someone came and studded him or something like that.
Well, I think that's one of the misconceptions with the reason why they put the Nike Skin top layer. It's a protective layer, yes, but it's also for the sake of some grip on the ball. Because if you've ever tried to kick a ball or dribble in just a pair of socks, it's typically pretty slippery. Obviously, it's doable, but it's not ideal if you're going to be wearing a pair of football boots. You want to have a little bit more grip than a sock. But I also thought it was interesting. I went on his Instagram, and it does say in his bio, and you can only put so much in your bio on Instagram, but it does say he's a Nike athlete. So I'm really curious to hear what Nike thinks of this, because I'm still kind of undecided as to whether or not this is good PR for them or bad PR. Because I posted about it on Instagram myself, and a lot of the comments were about the terrible durability of Nike products. And I'm kind of thinking like, actually, it's pretty impressive that he's worn these for like 11 months straight. And yeah, they look horrendous at this point, but clearly they're not broken. Everything is still being held together. They're just aesthetically not the most pleasing anymore.
Sure. And on the other hand, you could argue that the boots are so good that it doesn't matter that they're slightly broken and that the top layer has fallen off, and potentially also the outsole has lost its reflectiveness and all that stuff. Not reflectiveness, its chrome finish that we saw in that pack. But it really tells the story of a man properly enjoying his football boots to the point where he doesn't give a toss if they're on the verge of breaking. He's gonna wear them because they're that good boots. So yeah, you could argue it could be bad PR, but they can also really tell a love story between a player and a football brand. I think it depends on how you spin it. But of course, it doesn't look good. Let's just put it like that.
No, but I've always given this example when people talk about, oh, I wore these boots for 3 months and they're already broken or they look terrible. That's ridiculous in terms of durability. And I'm sure you did the same thing. At the start of the school year, your parents got you a brand new pair of sneakers and they're bright white, nice and fresh. And then after like the first 2 weeks from going and running around at recess, they look like they're 4 years old.
That's that. But listen, this is what happens with football boots. They're made to be worn. They're not going to look, and especially when they're white football boots with knit on them, exposed knit, they're not going to look nice. Look at all the Just Do It mercurial vapors and superflies that were around during the World Cup. And when players had worn them for the entire tournament, they look like crap because all the exposed knit just got dirty and the covered silicone part didn't. So it looked, that is just the way it is. And yes, boots are made to be worn, maybe not to the point Jack Grealish wore them, but that's a matter of preference, I think. But it was a funny little story that I think got people talking. But actually, it's not the first time this has happened to professional football players, where their boots have been exploding on him or falling to pieces. You had a very good example on Granit Xhaka, where his footwear kind of failed him.
I think these examples are a little different, though. He's wearing these destroyed boots by choice.
Absolutely.
Right? He didn't go out on the pitch in brand new boots, and that happened over the course of 90 minutes.
Now,
right?
That would have been bad PR.
Right, that's bad. The Xhaka thing is more, it's obviously a case of him just getting stepped on weird. It's kind of a fluky situation, but yeah, the upper just completely tore through. And it did look, based on what I could tell, that it was very similar to the retail upper for the Magnetico. And that's pretty much the thinnest pair of football boots I think I've ever worn. Yeah. So it's not really too surprising that would happen, especially if the opposing player is wearing soft ground studs.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's begging to be torn. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's one example. Another really, I guess we want to talk about Nike and bad PR and something that was so significant that they had to cancel the launch of what ultimately ended up being one of the most important football boots for the brand. So I guess it didn't hurt them that much, but the launch of the Superfly 1 was more or less a disaster.
Yeah, we all remember seeing the images of Didier Drogba wearing a ripped pair of Mercurial Superfly blackouts, where the entire front of the boot had just basically torn itself to pieces. And it was probably because they were working and testing out the thickness and the strength of the upper. You know, obviously they wanted to have the thinnest, the softest, most pliable upper possible, and that means that, you know, the thinner you can have the synthetic, the lighter and the softer it's going to be, obviously. But also, they needed to have the how should we say, the tension in the upper to keep it stable and for it to work with the flywire cable. So they had to really find the right composite of the synthetic, the right mix of the synthetic, the thickness, and how much stability they wanted in it. Obviously, what Drogba tested was the wrong combination and the wrong upper, should we say, that they fixed. But it was still quite significant that they had to change things that late in the process where a player actually had it for familiarization and, they blew up on him. And he wasn't the only one, was he? There was someone else.
No, there's two other guys. It was Andre Arshavin.
Uh-huh.
And Luis Fabiano, I want to say.
It was Fabiano, yeah. I didn't remember Arshavin, but I remembered Fabiano.
It was three guys.
Yeah.
Drogba's was the most significant because it was like the whole like heel area, front of his foot. And I think he was even bleeding.
Potentially,
which didn't look good. But yeah.
Probably not the boot's fault though, but yeah.
No, but the Superfly 1 was the first boot to incorporate the Flywire technology. I mean, technically, it was the first boot unveiled with Flywire technology. Technically, the Vapor 5 came out with the Flywire before the Superfly did, so it kind of technically gets credit. But
it's the same. It's the same generation. It's the same launch. So yeah, I think it's fair to say.
So because of these issues on field of just simply blackouts, thank God social media wasn't as prevalent for the whole football boot scene back then. Because could you imagine if that happened now? Like, it would be
Hazard,
it would be a
Ronaldo.
serious problem.
Wow, but it's like what happened with the basketball player, the college player whose name I failed to remember, but
Zion.
Exactly, where the sole of the shoe just basically came off, and did he get injured?
Yeah, he did. He ended up kind of tweaking his ankle. Not seriously injured, but yeah.
He got a little bit injured. He was like one of the big hopes out there. I mean, that is a massive. It's almost a catastrophe for the brand. That is bad PR. And imagine if that happened to Hazard, CR7, and Mbappe, where their boots actually physically fell apart while they were testing them. I mean, the boots have come quite far in that phase, and they're not supposed to be tweaked anymore after that. They're basically just given to the players for them to familiarize themselves with them so they are, good to go when the boots drop. They know which kind of modifications they need, all that stuff. So they aren't making any changes on the production quality of the boots. At that point, they're done. So that's also why back in the day when Drogba's and Fabiano's and Arshavin's boots broke, I mean, they had to go back to the drawing board and skip the launch colorway of the Superfly one, the red and chrome one, for everyone but the pros, because they couldn't, actually produce enough boots for retail in time for them to come out. So major disaster.
Yeah. Not to talk about basketball, but that whole Zion situation, I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but because he's playing college basketball. So the way that works is he's playing for Duke, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. But Duke is all sponsored by Nike.
Okay.
So you have to wear Nike if you go to Duke.
Uh-huh.
So once you get out of college, because the way it works in NCAA is you can't take out on any endorsement deals. Otherwise, you're uneligible to go to college.
Right.
So they can't accept any kind of money from brands, even though stuff happens under the table. But he's likely to go first overall in the NBA draft, which is going to happen in the next couple of weeks, as far as I'm aware.
I heard.
So before he signs in the NBA, like right now, he's entered the draft, so any brand can sign him. Now he's in a position now where Nike is most likely to sign him, because if he doesn't end up signing with Nike, can you imagine if he signs with any other brand and the marketing potential of using this Nike slip up for the sake of marketing their own products? It's really bad for Nike, because now they're kind of at the mercy of everyone else, where Adidas could say, hey, let's offer this guy who's effectively a rookie. They're saying he's going to be very good. Let's offer him a $200 million contract, and Nike has no choice but to pay more.
Exactly.
Just for the sake of saving themselves.
Yeah. Because they know that if Adidas or Under Armour, someone else who's okay with doing really aggressive marketing, they know that they're going to pay so much in terms of brand value, just because it's never gonna go away. So they have to sign this guy. But the question is, does he want to sign unless he's paid the big bucks? But anyways, that's a basketball discussion. But it's a very interesting discussion and something that hopefully will never happen in football, but could. I mean, not necessarily only to Nike, but to any brand out there, that one of their high-profile players, they suffer a should we call it wardrobe malfunction that ends up going completely viral.
Yeah. Quick question for you. Have you ever had a lucky pair of boots?
I don't know if I've had a lucky pair of boots, but I have a couple of boots that I always go back to if I really need to, feel good. That I have one of those days where I'm feeling, I just want to keep it old school. I just want to feel comfortable, and where there's something special about them. I'm not too superstitious in the sense that, if I have an important match, I have to wear a certain pair of boots. It's more like a really a go-to boot. Addy Power and Addy Pure 4SL.
Really? Okay.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I'm not superstitious at all. I've never really had like a go-to pair. Okay. But growing up, I did have a pair of black, white, and red Predator
let me
Absolutes.
guess. Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. I said it too fast.
That was not my guess.
Was that going to be your guess?
No. I was going to guess for the T90 Laser 2s.
No, it wasn't T90 Laser 2s. Those broke too quickly.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but I had these Predator Absolutes, which was one of the first high-end boots I ever had that lasted a whole season, which was weird. Mm-hmm. So I just kept them in my bag.
They were built like a tank, so.
Yeah. So I had those I think I had those for like 3 or 4 seasons, and then they're just my backup pair, but like I would break them out once in a while just because, I guess. Again, I wouldn't call them my lucky boots, but it's the one that I had consistently.
I also have, the one pair, I would guess, which is also, it's slowly entering that territory of being, my lucky boots. This is, I always wear this I have this in my bag just because, in case I want to, in case I want to feel good, because it's just such a comfortable boot.
That's fair. Is your pair signed?
Of course, I signed it for myself. To the greatest player ever from the.
I need to get you to sign my pair. I need a signed pair.
I can get you a signed pair. I can sign it everywhere. So it's just you can't see the yellow anymore. It just says JayMike. We can arrange that. Do we have any more notes on this whole boots exploding, wearing lucky boots that you should have retired ages ago thing, or should we move on to the Q&A section?
Do you think he will be eligible for a Nike warranty claim?
Depends, I guess. I think when it's him and he's just moved into the Premier League, I'd say yeah, probably.
Okay. Like, I'm assuming he's going to keep these. But
probably, yeah. But if he
like
did send them back...
Can you imagine, to a hardcore Aston Villa fan, how much are those boots worth?
Wow, everything. Like, I mean, I probably 2 arms and a toe.
Like, that's like such a cool... It's one thing to have like a match-worn pair of boots.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything more distinctive than that.
No.
Like, that's cool. No. Like, you just never see... You see match-worn boots, and it's like, oh, they look like they were worn for 5 minutes. That's like... That took a year to do that. That's awesome. I hope he doesn't get rid of those.
Look, he's never going to get rid of those. These are going to, be passed down through his family, because those are the boots he wore when he captained the side back to the Premier League. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. It's having like a championship ring almost. You pass those boots down. Fantastic.
Okay, here's another question. Does he start match day 1 in the Premier League wearing those boots?
I hope to God not, because then, if he plays any of the more thuggish teams in the Premier League, then they will go hard after him and just be, you can't run around with half-broken boots and not be targeted, because someone's going to want to break those. Nah, he's got to retire them. Wouldn't you, if you knew the story behind those boots and he wore them, he had the nerve to actually wear them in his first match in the Premier League, you're gonna wanna you're gonna want to kick him a little extra, make your studs hang a little bit, just to leave your mark.
Sure. Okay.
Or am I just being a complete
No,
idiot?
I'm almost of the opinion it's like you've taken them this far, you just wear them until they die, and then they're dead. And maybe you just have this display of broken boots, and I don't know.
Could be nice. And now, one thing just dawned on me. Do you remember back in the, was it the PSG days? I think it was for David Luiz, when he'd actually stripped some of the Nike Skin silicone off of his Magista Opera 1s, leaving like the exposed black knit underneath the white part. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I have seen that.
Was another really weird choice. I don't know if he did it on purpose just to get like an even cleaner striking spot where he shoots his knuckleballs, but it looked really odd. But obviously it looked like it was on purpose.
Yeah, it would have to be, because there's no way to wear it off in a specific spot like that. If it does wear off, it's like we saw on it's Grealish, right?
Grealish,
with an R or no R?
With an R, Grealish.
It is an R. Okay, there is an R. Yeah, I don't know. I can't read apparently.
Yeah, he's had a wild season, by the way, Jack Grealish. He was, not slapped, but he was actually struck down by a Birmingham fan, and then wears his semi-broken boots straight into the Premier League. That's one hell of a season. Just gotta say it.
I just saw a video when they were lifting the trophy, and he got struck like right on his eye, like right above his eyebrow, and he's got this big gouge. Pretty nice. He had a good day.
Man, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's quite happy. He probably doesn't bother too much. Just right now. Pretty but good to have Aston Villa back in the Premiership, I'd say.
We should also mention that we forgot to mention at the start. We were both recently in Japan.
Yes.
Just to address this, because we did post about it on Instagram. I think we'll probably do a full episode, or at least part of an episode, talking about it. But we can't talk about it just yet.
Exactly, because what we saw over there is a secret for a little while yet. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, if you want some impressions on the Japan trip, you can go and check out Josh's Instagram, because he posted a lot. Like a lot. And if you don't know who took us, you can also just check out his Instagram, because basically every post says who took us. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be funny, but yeah, okay. We were in Japan, and it was nice, and we'll tell you more about it when the time comes.
Yep. That's we probably were too late on that. There's probably already 40 questions about it.
Yeah, okay.
So we're supposed to address this at the beginning, but so if you ask a question about it, there's your answer. Exactly. Which means we should start the Q&A segment of the podcast.
What a brilliant way into the questions here. I have some. Should I just go ahead and start?
Go for it.
All right. From, wow, this is a difficult name. Varel Giazul. Sorry about that, man. Totally butchered that name. Do you guys think Nike will ever use carbon fiber again in a pair of soccer/football boots? I noticed the Vaporfly and Zoomfly running shoes have a full-length carbon fiber plate listed in their tech specs. And it's true. They do have a full-length carbon fiber plate in the outsole, and it's flipping awesome. But to the question, I think that we'll never see carbon fiber back in football in the way it was on the Superfly 1, the 2s, 3, and 4s. I simply think that, especially with what you explained to me earlier about how much carbon fiber there was actually in there, I don't really think we'll see that again unless Nike can come up with something that's so groundbreakingly different to what they already did, because now they've moved away from carbon fiber. They found a better alternative with the nylon outsoles that's not as snappy and responsive, but almost as responsive and considerably cheaper to use. So it was a nice story back then, and I know people want it back, but I don't really think that we're not ready yet until Nike can find another ingenious way of using it.
I I think the carbon fiber sole plate and obviously the full carbon boots, those are cool. Very distinctive, obviously very hugely visual elements. But I think that's for me, the capacity that Nike has really ever used carbon fiber on most of their football boots. It's more of a visual element. And I do realize that like the Vapor 3, I think Vapor 4 had it as well. They had the carbon fiber internal shank, basically from the heel through the midfoot. But that was something that you wouldn't even know was there unless you took the insole out and looked in the boot underneath, which most people who had those boots probably didn't even realize it was there. And then on the Vapor 3, they had the little ring around the back, purely visual. The Vapor 4 had the ring going around the heel and the midfoot area, pretty much purely visual.
Wasn't that glass fiber, actually?
Glass fiber, man. People kind of put the two and two together, right?
Sure.
It ends up... I think what companies go for now is they obviously want something that is visibly high tech, and they like to have as many tech specs as possible because I think it gives them more angles to market the boot and keep things interesting. And a carbon fiber as a material is very expensive. It's expensive to work with, and I don't think people are as interested in it anymore. They've done it in so many different variations now that I just think that they have found better ways of making interesting things like ACC, mid-cut collars, knitted uppers. Like they're really good at finding these new things that are somehow also less expensive for them to produce, but still maintain the high interest level. Carbon fiber, I don't think is the way to do that anymore for them.
Nah, and as you said, it's too expensive. And saying that Nike has found better alternatives is also they found cheaper alternatives that does the same job as carbon fiber has done, if not even better.
Yeah, so it's also worth pointing out too that while football boots are still very expensive, Nike high-end football boots are still very expensive. They were a lot less expensive now that they don't have carbon fiber than when they did.
I think we all remember the $400 Superfly 2 and 3, which is ironic because they're also some of the worst football boots ever released. But
they had carbon fiber.
But they had carbon fiber. Imagine, my man, if they'd had ACC 2, that would have been some seriously high-tech innovation stuff right there.
Incredible.
Wow. Okay. So it's a solid no from both of us, right? On the carbon fiber front.
I wouldn't say a no forever, but I think it's an unlikely thing for them to reincorporate.
Yeah. I think they need to or find another very inventive solution to use carbon fiber in a way we haven't seen before for them to be able to justify bringing it back. That would probably be my answer. So I guess no. But here's a free kick, a question for you from Free Kick Guys. Hey Josh, how would you compare the lockdown of the Copa 19 Plus to a pair of untied / not laced up Mercurial Vapor 12s? I have to make the switch from Nike to Adidas because of my school team, and I do like leather cleats. Just concerned about the lockdown because I usually warm up with the laces untied with my Mercurials and tie them when I actually play. And because the question is addressed to you, I'm going to let you go first.
I would say straight up, I think the lockdown is better on a Copa 19 Plus versus an unlaced pair of Vapor 12s, for sure.
Oh, easy.
Not to say, like, the Vapor 12 and the Superfly 6 with no laces, they are wearable. It's not something you couldn't get away with, but it's not great. Like, it really kind of defeats the purpose of the boot. But
yeah,
a laceless boot is, at the end of the day, purposely designed and made to be worn without laces. And I think the Copa 19 Plus, out of any laceless boot I've ever worn, probably has the best lockdown.
Oh, not probably. It does. It does.
Well, the only reason why I say probably is because it is still going to be dependent on the specific shape of your foot.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. So it's entirely possible that as good as the Copa 19 Plus is, you could put them on and you might have some weird foot shape and it just doesn't work right.
Fair enough.
Right. And that could be the case with any laceless boot. If the Copa 19 Plus doesn't fit you well, you might put an X19 Plus on and be like, oh my gosh, feel amazing. It's just, that's the nature of laceless boots. But yeah, in general, I would say pretty much any laceless boot is going to have better lockdown than a boot that has laces with the laces removed.
Yeah, and I mean, you can talk about laceless boots and say that, of course they will be better because they've actually been built to do that. And yes, you can take your laces out of a mercurial or keep them untied and wear them, but and you'll be okay. But you can also drive your car without a seatbelt on and be okay until you need the seatbelt, until you need the lockdown. I mean, yeah, you can run around with a pair of laceless mercurials with the laces taken out, and you'll be fine. They'll feel comfortable. But when you then need to put your foot down and change directions very harshly with a very strong push off, then you need the laces and you need the structure, the stability to make sure your foot doesn't move all over the place. It's the same thing if you drive your car into a rock. I mean, you need the seatbelt, right? So it might be okay for a while until you need the technology. And then when it's not there, well, things are going to fuck up. Pardon my French. So, but the question here is also, how does it compare to also the laced up mercurial? Because he unties his boots for the warm up and then ties them when he starts playing. My answer to that question would be just get not necessarily a Copa 19.1, but the X 19.1, where you get the laces, you get the very thin, soft upper, you get the whole lightweight experience, you get a very streamlined boot. It feels to me like a very good alternative to the Vapor. And I could basically go from one boot to the other like that and not basically feel sorry for myself.
Yeah, nothing feels quite like a Mercurial, but I think if you're happy with how those feel, an X19.1, even a Nemesis 19.1 would not be a bad option either. But I think X is probably your best bet.
Yeah, but let me put it this way, right? I've always been a Mercurial Vapor guy. I've sworn by my Mercurial Vapors. But after Copa 19 Plus was released, I'm actually wearing those more than I'm wearing my Mercurial Vapors. And I'm still okay with the lockdown. I'm a lockdown guy. I really, really care about lockdown. If it doesn't have good lockdown, I don't want to wear it. And the Copas are good enough for me to enjoy it enough to wear it over my Vapors a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Cool.
I like the unique experience of a Copa 19 Plus.
Yeah, it's just special. I mean, it's not necessarily for everyone, but if you like that, super tight, very plush and soft, comfortable leather feel that's still sharp on the ball, it's a very good experience. Anyway, Mac Banana Bread, does JayMike use SR4U laces? Bro, it's water. Of course I use SR4U laces. It's like, why would I use anything but? They're awesome. They have ACC, only you can't see it. Let me say again, for legal reasons, they do not have ACC. They do not, and I state they do not have ACC nor anything related to ACC. So if anyone at Nike are watching, don't come after him. But yeah, I wear SR4U laces when I don't wear my Copas.
They have whatever you believe they have. And if you're not wearing them, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Fair enough. Jason Todd, is that you asking the question, Josh?
It's not me. Oh, yeah. No, it's not me.
Are AG boots more durable than FG boots, and do they take more time to break in? Yes, they are more durable than FG boots. They've been made to withstand higher levels of vibration and heat when you play on artificial pitches. So yes, they can withstand more than FG boots can. And also, they've been built with these little holes in the studs, which means that they, it allows the studs to be, to heaten up less, simply because there's the hole in it that allows it to keep the temperature a little bit down. When you run over these artificial rubber pellets or whatever you call it, is that right? Rubber pellets?
Yeah, pellets is the right word. Rubber pellets.
Granulation?
No, pellets is good.
Pellets, cool. When you run over these, obviously it's going to generate a lot of heat. And the other thing is that when you play on AG, normally when you play on an natural grass pitch, and you step on the ground and you step on the grass, you're going to penetrate the ground. The ground is going to fall to pieces. The earth is going to fall to pieces. And when you step on the grass, the little strains or blades of grass are going to break down. But when you step on an artificial piece of grass, the ground is not going to, fall apart around you. It's simply just going to compress and become harder. The same thing happens to the grass because it doesn't break naturally. So it's just going to compress, be harder, and be more abrasive on your boots. So yes, AG boots have to be more durable than FG boots. But do they take longer to break in, Josh?
Typically, no. Obviously, some AG boots have a different sole plate, which can sometimes change the fit a little bit. It can be a little bit stiffer sometimes, which, all of that stuff will impact your break-in time, but it's still boot by boot specific. And for the most part, the answer to that question is no.
Yeah. And also, especially in these modern times where we see the brands putting a lot of emphasis on actually having AG boots feeling as similar to the FG boots as possible with the AG Pro plates on the Nike boots and the AG FG boots that we saw on the Adi boots that they don't have anymore. But, they're still made to feel streamlined and as FG-like as possible while still maintaining the durability and, of course, also the safety of AG boots. So I'd probably say no. If you play on both FG and AG surfaces, I'd get a modern pair of AG boots like an AG Pro plate because, works for both.
Well, I guess he could be asking the question also from the angle of if you're wearing either AG boots or FG boots on natural and artificial playing surfaces, if you're wearing them on both surfaces, the AG boots are likely to be more durable.
Yes.
Because an FG boot on artificial grass, it's just not made for that.
Yeah.
Where a beefed up AG boot can handle a much softer, more, forgiving surface that is natural grass. But then it can also handle the very abrasive surface that is artificial grass. So like you just said, if you're playing on both, an AG Pro plate from Nike is kind of an ideal situation.
Exactly. And even
look at Neymar, when Neymar wears it and he never gets hurt.
Exactly. But I was just going to use Neymar, I wasn't going to make a joke. So yeah, I mean, you can also use the AG Pro outsoles if the normal FG outsole is a little too aggressive for you, like we see with Neymar. If you have a tendency to have a lot of knee injuries or something like that, you don't want the sharp traction from the bladed studs, you can go AG Pro and it'll work like a nice set of conical studs for you.
Yep. Cool.
Okay.
Great answer.
A great answer. Captain Mufasa, what a beast of a name. JayMike, you made a video with Keita Balde last year for Unisport. His loan from Monaco to Inter recently finished. I think Man United should sign him. What do you think? I think Keita Balde is one of the greatest guys out there. I absolutely love the man. Such a funny dude. And actually a good footballer. Should Man United sign him? I don't know if we should sign him for the right. It could be a good option. I wouldn't be against it.
Okay, I have a question. Who should Man United sign? Number one priority.
Apart from Matthijs de Ligt, who everyone should sign?
Sure.
I'd probably point to Bruno Fernandes. He's probably going to go to City. But the guy from Sporting Lisbon, who has been killing it in Portugal these days, he can hurt people from midfield. I'd love to see him, and then whoever for the right flank, or of course Jovic. I mean, get Jovic, get someone who can score goals. Bruno Fernandes, get Jovic in, and then get Matthijs de Ligt, and we'll be sorted.
Okay, cool.
But let's see. And this is going to come bite me in the ass because then de Ligt is going to go Liverpool and Jovic is going to go Chelsea and Fernandes is going to go City and we're left with, I don't know, Jesse Lingard.
Gareth Bale.
Oh, my dude.
Somebody's got to pay his salary.
Oh, wait. He's not going to be Man United. Hopefully he's just going to stay in Madrid and play golf. I mean,
as well.
He's a great player, but he's just injured all the time. I wouldn't. No. We can't even. No. Harshal Verma. I just can't watch these videos. They're just too long. Okay. Alex Mummery.
He didn't make it that far anyways.
Well, that's how it goes. Alex Mummery. Which older model boots are better than their current model? I just got some heavily discounted Future 2.1s knowing they are a solid boot. Probably because the guy at the other end of the phone here with me, said so, right? You like?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Future 2.1 is a little bit better than Future 19.1.
I'd say 18.1, but I agree. Older model, better.
Yeah, but it's more of a personal preference thing. It's not to say, I don't think that the 19.1 is worse. I just like the 2.1 better.
But I would probably say that for most people, I think most people would like the 18.1 more simply because it's thinner and softer. For me, that's something I tell myself that people like a lot. And the guys that I play with who have the 18.1s and have tried the new ones have said that they like the 18.1s more. So, but
sure.
I mean, I don't know. But another thing is I'm going to point to is the Vapor 11. I think that it is a better football boot than the Vapor 12.
I would prefer the Vapor 12, but I totally understand what you're saying from the perspective that the Vapor 11 is thinner, it's lighter, it's arguably more responsive. It's certainly a tighter, more classic Mercurial fit.
And a little bit more sculpted as well.
Yeah, it's more classic Mercurial than what they did with the Vapor.
Yeah, 12. Yeah. And what else do we have? I'm
trying to think of another example. Oh, I just bumped the mic. I think there's probably plenty of people that think Obra 2 over Phantom Vision.
I hope not.
You think so? No, you don't think so?
Look, I think it's well established that I am not a big fan of the Phantom Vision.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, if you like,
what about Obra 2 and Obra 1?
Fair enough. Go Obra 1, because I think the Obra 2 was a major disappointment. And yes, if we look at that, the Phantom Vision is a step in the right direction. It's a very big step in the right direction. And I would take the Phantom Vision every single day of the week compared to the Obra 2s. I think they would just... What on earth were they thinking, man?
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't think right now, at this very moment, there's too many that you can say, oh, the last one was better. But if you go through history, like... Hypervenom Phantom 1 to Phantom 2.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not good.
I mean, I think you could even argue Superfly 4, Superfly 5. All the second generation of those new introductions from Nike, they were all kind of a little bit disappointing.
Obviously, also Viscera 1 and 2s makes sense.
Yeah. Under Armour getting rid of clutch fit and giving us a zipper. Wait, no, the first Spotlight was a disappointment. Wait, was that even part of that line?
First Spotlight was all right.
No, Magnetico replaced clutch fit.
Yeah, which was, clutch fit was an amazing boot. Amazing boot.
Okay, so I guess Magnetico.
First Spotlight was actually all right. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. It was just in between.
All right. There's not too many I wouldn't say there's too many current examples.
Nah, you're right. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Steven Van Tilburg. Is that a It's a G. I'm super blind. Steven Van Tilburg. What is the difference between the Mizuno Morelia 2 made in Japan and the Mizuno Morelia Neo 2 made in Japan? Oh, my man, there is a big difference. A big difference. Josh, you just explain. I'll go get the boots.
Okay, so the Morelia 2, not Neo, you are getting a Japanese Copa Mundial. It's full kangaroo leather, but some of the nicest kangaroo leather you're going to find on any football boot, period. But unlike a classic Copa Mundial, it has a much more modern fit and much lower profile, where you're going to put them on your feet and they're going to feel like they don't really need much in the way of break-in time, where an old school Copa feels, I don't even know what an old school Copa is shaped like. It's shaped like
a sausage.
Yeah, you just have to break them in order for them to fit properly, where you don't have that with a Morelia 2. Plus, it's also remarkably lightweight despite looking very old school. It's in the 7-ounce range, which is on par with pretty much any top end model right now, but it's old school classic comfort with amazing leather. And it does have the old school stud pattern, where Neo, obviously you're getting what is kind of the speed boot interpretation of the classic Morelia, where you get thinned out kangaroo leather at the front, which is still very soft, but very speed boot-esque because of how thin it is. Then you get a thinner, kind of more barefoot feeling synthetic material through the midfoot, which is there for the sake of touch, but also for the sake of lockdown and responsiveness. The shape of the boot is much tighter and slimmer and it's probably, I don't want to say classic Mercurial, but it's probably the closest thing to a classic Mercurial in terms of fit that you can get right now, considering that the current Mercurials no longer fit like Mercurials. Right?
Great.
I think I'm right on that. And then the stud pattern, while it does look more traditional than I think a lot of modern football boots, it's actually quite aggressive and provides really good bite. And they're light.
Mic drop. Okay, fair enough. I don't have much to add other than, Morelia Neo is one of the all-time granddaddy of comfort boots that still works very well today. And this is just the lightweight interpretation with a lot less leather. Still very comfortable, still very premium, and it weighs 185 grams. And it is basically what a leather vapor would feel like. I know they made K leather vapors, but they weren't. That was back when the vapor was not very comfortable. This is what a comfortable leather vapor would feel like, I feel. Such a low profile boot. It feels like it's just glued to your feet. So low profile, very, very on your toes experience, extremely sharp on the ball, and a super, super underrated boot. They both are. But so the whole Neo thing is basically Mizuno's way of saying, okay, we're taking the heritage, we're taking every bit of Mizuno DNA we have standing for high build quality and premium materials and very good comfort, and then they're just using modern materials, modern ways of building boots, and all their knowledge on keeping the weight low to build a modern speed boot version of their classic Morelia. So there's a little bit for everyone to choose from. And they're both awesome.
Correct. I agree with everything you just said. We have time for one more question, Jay.
Right. Let's go for one more question. And it is from M. Taufia M. Can you discuss the evolution of Puma brand? Evo Speed to 1, Evo Power to Future. Let's do it.
Well, explain the evolution.
Okay, they went from having two Evo concepts to not having any concept at all. But the boots are better for it.
Yeah, I mean they did.
Thank you for today. But
they effectively did what Adidas did, where it's like, okay, you know what, this isn't working. Let's kill it and start fresh.
Yes,
there was no logical progression to go from Evo Power to
Future.
One?
Nah. Now, Evo Power probably, Future's probably the spiritual successor to the Evo Power, and one being the speed boot-ish thing, being the spiritual successor to the Evo Speed. They kind of took what they learned on the Evo Speed, using leather on a lightweight product, and merged that into the one. So I think the one is, and we're really going to see, the trend on the one being that it's going to get lighter and lighter while maintaining this, leather forefoot to give it a nice touch as well. Whereas the Future is focused on obviously net fit, the fit, the comfort, but also the shooting.
Yeah. That's fair. But there wasn't like a logical evolution that would have made that a predictable step.
No, but
right.
Was it a good move from a product perspective? Because I think from a marketing perspective, it was a very solid move. Okay, the one was the 17.1 complete disaster. What a terrible football boot it was. It felt rushed. It felt like it came out of nowhere. Like they didn't really believe in it themselves at Puma. Obviously they fixed some of it with the 18.1, but it was just, yeah.
No, it's what they did is what the industry is doing as a whole, where I think there's more value to just coming out with something completely different rather than building on the same concept for 10 years straight. The only line that has withstanded that, I guess there's two. It's the Tiempo line up until now and the Mercurial line, which I don't think Nike's ever going to kill the Mercurial line. The Tiempo line, I'd be a little bit worried 10 years down the road, let's say.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years. I don't even know. But like Predator couldn't do it. It's back now, but it couldn't do it.
No,
they dug it into a hole.
Yeah.
F50 line had a good run, couldn't hold it. Although I do think they should bring back the F50 name like they did switching
Predator.
Ace to Predator
Yeah,
again. I think that would be a smart move because I feel like people are still into F50. But yeah, like there's just Nike went from Magista to Phantom Vision, and then they went from Hypervenom to Phantom Venom. And there's just, I don't think there's a lot of value anymore in terms of brand recognition to just maintain the same silo and just keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think people get excited about new names and new concepts now.
Sure.
And it's, yeah, they like to build that new story around everything being new.
Yeah, and that is absolutely fair. What I don't understand is how Puma went from, they had their speed boot concept and they could have made a very nice direct competitor to the X, which at that time also wasn't necessarily a classic speed boot that we would, with the 16 and the 17. So it could have been a nice competitor to the Mercurials. So instead they went 17.1, complete disaster. And it was only really with the 1.1 that they actually fixed it. So they went 17, 18, and then they went 1.1, and then 19 point was like a...
Yeah.
They need to fix that name.
It was a bold move from Puma because they're the first brand, especially out of the big three, to really just decide, hey, let's completely ignore this control, power, speed thing that's been developed over... the last 20 years, and let's kind of just go in our own direction. Because the Puma 1, well, it's their speed boot. You wouldn't look at that and automatically assume, oh, that's a speed boot, because it doesn't really have that look to it for the most part. And then the future is kind of just its own thing. Like I get questions all the time, people asking, oh, is it a control boot? Is it a speed boot? Is it power? Like, no, it's the Puma future. It doesn't necessarily need to fall under that whole marketing plan that, I don't know, Nike and Adidas for the most part founded, and then everyone else kind of followed. They just decided, and look how they were structured, right? Evo Speed, Evo Power,
absolutely.
Puma King, right? They were really about those three things.
And what's really important here is also how Puma have actually succeeded doing this. They're actually selling a lot of boots right now, and people like them. They got a good price point, solid technology on hand. I mean, they've actually done well with the new approach, and I think that's something that, I felt it was a shame the Evo Powers died because they were very underrated, but it was a stroke of genius from Puma, and it showed how you should actually do the whole reboot of your silos.
Yeah. Also, it just hit me now, and I have to point it out. Puma is really bad at names.
Yeah.
Like, can you name? Try to name in order the Evo Speeds. Impossible. Or like the Puma Kings. Like the modern Puma Kings.
Puma Kings is completely impossible. I spoke today to one of my guys and mentioned the Puma King XL, and they thought I meant SL, which was significantly later, and said, it was a mess. It was a mess. Yeah. And then again with this whole 17.1, 18.1, 1.1, 19.1, and what's going to be the next one, and then the future 18, 2.19. I mean, get the out of here. And I think with those words, it's time we round it off. Of course, don't forget to go pay a serious visit to our sponsors for today, C6 Agility, best shin pads on the market. You heard it here first. So go check them out. If you need a new pair of shin pads, or basically just one pair of shin pads for the rest of your life, you can get 10% off. Coupons code is right down there. Of course, also, as we mentioned, don't forget to go write some questions in the comment section right down below. You should, of course, also go subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast by clicking the black bubble in the middle of the screen. You can go check out what Josh is doing by clicking the bubble over his head. You can also see what we're up to at Unisport by clicking somewhere over here. But don't forget, it's all about the black bubble that says Boot Nerds, and ring the little bell to get a notification every time we post a new video. And with that said, guys, we're signing off. I'm JayMike, and I approve this message.
And I am whichever name is written by my head somewhere. I'm still unsure what it's going to be. I'm excited to see it, though. We'll see you in the next episode. Later.
Farewell. Godspeed.
Godspeed.